state that they seem to have on the agenda for us. Free Julian Assange.
Next up is Neil Resnikoff, again, a long-time Chicago activist. Neil.
So I'm speaking for the Chicago Anti-War Coalition, and I want to say that Julian Assange is in jail and court now because of the Biden administration at this time. The Biden administration has refused to drop charges of violation of an old U.S. law by this Australian journalist who has never been to the U.S. The charges at the heart of the case are for Julian's role in revealing U.S. war crimes that the U.S. did not want to be revealed. So Assange has now been in confinement for 11 and a half years, trying to avoid being extradited to the U.S. He knew that the U.S. government was out to get him. He was editor of WikiLeaks, which revealed all sorts of U.S. criminal interference in other countries and killing of civilians and other crimes. And he knew that the Obama administration was investigating him and might file charges. The Obama administration in November 2010 called the WikiLeaks exposure of U.S. war crimes reckless and dangerous action. U.S. Attorney General Holder said that there has been an active, ongoing investigation, and Vice President Biden said in December of 2010 that WikiLeaks is close to being a high-tech terrorist. An indictment against Assange was finally filed by the Trump administration, as was pointed out already. But as we know from Assange taking asylum in the Ecuadorian embassy in London, before this time, before the indictment, the U.S. persecution and hounding was successful to that extent. Now, the charges against Assange, as has been pointed out, are under the Espionage Act of 1917. This law is for prosecution of anyone in the U.S. who receives, retains, or possesses national defense information. The Espionage Act makes it a crime to utter, print, write, or publish any disloyal, profane, scurrilous, or abusive language about the form of the government of the United States. But this American law is being imposed on the foreigner, Julian Assange, who has not been in the U.S. A guilty verdict on the more than 16 charges against him could bring up to 175 years in jail. Meanwhile, the perpetrators of the war crimes have not been charged with anything. And the Biden administration has so far refused to drop the charges against Assange. So today's leafleting and rallying and press conference are part of a worldwide effort to make Biden drop the charges, or else to face the anger of Americans, of Australians, of British, and others in the world on this. People are already up in arms against other crimes of the Biden administration, and this adds to it. People oppose the Biden administration helping Israel with arms for its criminal genocide against the Palestinian people of Gaza. Nearly 30,000 civilians have already been killed since October. People are upset that the Biden administration is allowing more extraction and burning of fossil fuel while the world is on the threshold of catastrophe with global warming and climate change. People are upset with the lack of sufficient care for the flood of migrants caused by the interference of the U.S. corporations and the U.S. government in the other countries. People are upset by the criminal actions of the police across the country and the increasing numbers of mass shootings taking place while Biden is in office. People are upset by the inflation, the lack of sufficient food, shelter, and clothing for millions here in the U.S. So we in the Free Assange movement need to link up with all of the other movements opposing a continuation of the criminal actions by the capitalist ruling class. We need to oppose the Democratic and Republican parties. Instead, we need to work for freedom. Free Julian Assange.
Free Julian Assange.
Free all of us.
Free all of us.
Power to the people.
Power to the people.
Thank you.